Hi, teachers. Oh, I really miss you, especially when we're studying the history of education. This is one of my passions. I learned not too long ago that I'm actually a descendant of Emma Hart Willard. She's a pretty significant educator in history, and that's where I think this stuff lies into my DNA. Hey, anyway, I wanted to tell you about her because she was really the beginning of teacher education. Emma Hart Willard is significant because she founded the very first school for women in higher education in 1821, but it wasn't an easy path. Emma came from a family of pretty well-educated people, obviously, but she had men in her life and a father who allowed her and encouraged her to learn literature and math and geography, and that was sort of all done in the home. She was sent to a finishing school, which many women who had some money in the family were sent to, and that's where they learned how to craft and embroider and play an instrument and basically appease men. But that wasn't enough for her, and she could never quite figure that out. So she, in fact, at that time, it was math, geography, and tough subjects like we're learning today, they considered them to unsex women. In fact, in her biography, I read, women had been taught that it was unwomanly to hold opinions on serious subjects, that men admired weak, clinging, innocent women. A woman who discussed politics or government, who held unorthodox views on religion, or presumed to enter the educational sphere of men was ridiculed as unwomanly, as aping men, and was at once scheduled for moral shipwreck. It was all part of that institutionalized sexism. So Emma decided to do something about it, and she wrote the Proposal for Female Education in 1819, and she delivered it to statesmen in New York. Believe it or not, Thomas Jefferson was vehemently opposed to any sort of education like this for women. Somehow, using a religious argument that said, look, if you let women learn these subjects, then they will pass them on to their sons, and that we will be able to create more upstanding citizens and even more intelligent people, citizenry. And somehow the folks of Troy, New York agreed with her, and they actually publicly funded the first institution, otherwise known as the Troy Seminary for Female Education in 1821. It wasn't easy to get women there, and obviously women of some upstanding families were sent there. But that was the first time, 1821, that women really started to learn math and science. And Emma's work was really significant in the proliferation of higher education. But her argument that women be educated was the beginning of women as teachers. Emma's argument wasn't perfect, though. Emma actually said that women would be cheap labor. We didn't have any rights back then. We belonged to men. But it was the beginning of a profession for women. One would argue it's probably still why women are not paid well today, especially teachers, which we always see that pay scale is low. But she also educated Elizabeth Cady Stanton and many of the suffragettes that went on to fight for the women's right to vote. Emma was complicated, though. She actually didn't believe women had the right to vote. That's an even more complicated story that I've been learning about my research. But nonetheless, I find the history of education fascinating. Normal schools are what we called teacher education schools or universities. And in the 1890s, Northern Arizona opened one of the first ones in Arizona. And then Arizona State University a couple of years later, and then the University of Arizona also had the main buildings were actually designed for women to come and learn how to teach, but it was called a normal school at the time. Fascinating stuff, I know. I hope you're enjoying the history of ed. Those films get much better. The last one is really about where are we going. We are going to see how powerful education is, how it is a tool used to elevate some, and for others, it can actually keep you down. And you're all joining a system that has a lot of responsibility in our society. I can't wait to have really lengthy discussions with you about what you learned, especially though how the future of education will take shape, because that, my friends, is in your hands. I hope you're well. I'm always around. Call me if you need me. Take care.